Every Greek hero you've ever heard of died. Achilles? Dead. Perseus? Dead. Jason? Dead. Every single one of them stayed mortal, except one man looked death in the face and said no. One man turned his back on the gods themselves and rewrote the rules of destiny. One man became so powerful that even Zeus had to bow down and make him immortal. But here's what nobody tells you about Hercules. His story doesn't start with strength. It starts with murder, his own family's blood on his hands, and the 12 trials that made him a god. They were never meant to save him. They were designed to destroy him. So how did the most hated man in Greece become its greatest legend? How do you go from child killer to savior of the world? The answer will change everything you think you know about heroes. To understand Hercules, you need to understand the world he was born into. And trust me, it was nothing like ours. Imagine a world where immortals walked right next to regular people, where gods controlled the sky, the sea, and the earth, but still burned with the same jealousy, rage, and desire as any human, where ancient titans, giants older than the gods themselves, still cast their massive shadows across the land. Picture Cyclopes with single blazing eyes, hammering out weapons so powerful they could split entire mountains. Nymphs, beautiful spirits of forests, rivers, and mountains, living forever, their beauty never touched by time or age. And then there were humans, ordinary men and women, fragile, limited by hunger, fear, aging, and death. Their lives were short, their strength was small, and every single day they lived under the watchful eyes of gods who could bless them or destroy them with just one thought. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes these two worlds collided. Sometimes an immortal would come down from Mount Olympus, or rise from the ocean depths to be with a mortal. And from these unions came something entirely new, something that was neither fully god nor fully human. They called them heroes, half human, half divine, stronger than any man, greater than kings. They carried the spark of Olympus in their blood, but their bodies? Still mortal. They could feel hunger, pain, and fear. They could bleed. And most importantly, they could die. And they did. Every hero of Greece, no matter how powerful, no matter how glorious their deeds, met the same end. Achilles, Perseus, Jason, all dead. Their quests shook the world. Their names echo through history. But in the end, death claimed them all. All except one. One man who refused to accept mortality. One man whose incredible strength, unbearable suffering, and pure defiance carried him further than any hero before him. One man who faced 12 impossible trials and, against all odds, earned his place among the gods themselves. This is the story of Hercules, the only mortal who became immortal. But here's what makes Greek mythology so powerful. These gods weren't perfect beings watching peacefully from above. They were immortal, yes, eternal. They could summon storms and split the earth with earthquakes. But they were also ruled by the exact same emotions that destroy us: jealousy, anger, lust, betrayal. They fought, they schemed, they fell in love and fell into blind rage. That's why their stories still grip us today. Because the gods of Greece weren't distant, untouchable figures. They were flawed, they were dangerous, they were like us, just with infinite power. Nobody proved this more than Zeus himself, king of Olympus. To mortals, Zeus was thunder, lord of the skies, master of the lightning bolt, father of gods and men. His power was absolute. But his desires, they controlled him as much as he controlled the world. Again and again, Zeus gave in to temptation. Goddesses, mortal women, whoever caught his eye he pursued. And every betrayal was another dagger driven straight into the heart of his wife, Hera, queen of the gods. Now Hera wasn't some helpless victim. She was the goddess of marriage itself, protector of wives everywhere. Yet she was betrayed more than any woman who ever lived. Her jealousy became the stuff of legends. Her fury had no limits. And every time Zeus cheated, Hera's rage grew darker, more focused, waiting for the perfect target. That target appeared when Zeus looked down from Mount Olympus and spotted a mortal woman named Alcmene. She wasn't a goddess, she wasn't immortal, but her beauty and nobility were beyond anything on earth. Zeus descended to her, disguised himself as her own husband, and took her for himself. From that union, a child was born. This wasn't just any child. Zeus's blood flowed through his veins, strength that surpassed every mortal, a spark of pure divinity. He was destined for greatness beyond imagination, but from his very first breath, he was marked for death by Hera's endless hatred. Hera's hatred for Hercules started the moment he took his first breath. She swore this child would never live to see his first birthday, let alone manhood. That very night, while baby Hercules slept peacefully in his cradle, Hera made her move. She summoned 2 massive serpents from the underworld itself. These weren't ordinary snakes that one bite could kill a grown man instantly. But remember, this was no ordinary baby. This was the son of Zeus. As the serpents lunged with lightning speed, something incredible happened. The baby didn't scream. He didn't cry. Instead, his tiny hands shot out and grabbed both monsters by their throats. And then he squeezed. The snakes thrashed wildly, their massive bodies whipping through the air, but those little fingers held them like iron vises. And the baby, he was laughing, actually laughing, as if these deadly creatures were nothing more than amusing toys. By sunrise, 2 lifeless serpents lay coiled in the cradle, and baby Hercules was still giggling. The news exploded across Mount Olympus. A mortal infant had strangled Hera's own monsters with his bare hands. Furious but curious, the queen of the gods herself descended to see this impossible child. She expected to find some kind of monster. Instead, she saw a wide-eyed baby with complete innocence. Hercules didn't see the goddess who would torment him his entire life. He just saw a woman, and like any hungry baby, he reached for her breast, seeking milk. Caught completely off guard by his innocence, Hera leaned down. And that's when the unthinkable happened. A powerful stream of divine milk burst from her breast, shooting across the heavens in a brilliant arc of white light. That cosmic river stretched across the entire night sky. And from that single moment of divine accident, the Milky Way itself was born. Think about that. A baby, not even walking yet, had just created one of the most beautiful sights in our universe. Even in his innocence, Hercules was already reshaping the cosmos. And in that moment, Hera realized the terrifying truth. This wasn't a child she could simply eliminate. This boy would be her greatest enemy for the rest of his life. Hera's hatred didn't just simmer, it blazed like a furnace. And it wasn't just jealousy anymore, it was fear and wounded pride. She watched this boy grow into a man, and with every passing year, her terror grew. Hercules wasn't just strong, he was defiant. He slayed monsters that terrorized entire kingdoms. He defended cities single-handedly. He rescued the helpless and laughed in the face of impossible odds. With every victory, every cheer from grateful crowds, Hera's rage deepened. She plotted with other gods, whispered curses into the ears of villains, sent every monster she could find to destroy him. But nothing worked. Nothing broke his spirit. He seemed forged by struggle itself. So Hera decided to destroy the one thing Hercules valued more than his own life: his family. She unleashed something far worse than monsters or serpents. She sent Lyssa, the spirit of madness itself, to twist his mind from the inside. Divine fury clouded his vision and poisoned his thoughts. In that madness, Hercules saw enemies everywhere, even where there were none. His hands, those same hands that had protected cities and saved countless lives, moved against the people he loved most. His wife Megara, a noble princess of Thebes, and their children. He struck without reason, without recognition, without mercy. When the madness finally lifted like morning fog, Hercules found himself standing over the broken bodies of his own family. The hero who had never lost a battle, who had faced down gods and monsters, fell to his knees and wept like a child. He fled from Thebes. He exiled himself to the wilderness. Every step felt cursed. The ground beneath his feet seemed poisoned by his presence. The champion who had faced hydras and lions now felt like something monstrous, something beyond redemption. Grief consumed him. Shame haunted his every breath. For the first time in his life, his mortality, the thing he'd always rebelled against, felt like a crushing weight. Desperate for any hope of redemption, Hercules traveled to Delphi, to the sacred oracle of Apollo. He knelt before the Pythia, the priestess who spoke for the gods, trembling as he begged for answers. How could he atone for sins no hero should ever bear? The oracle's voice echoed through the sacred chamber. Serve King Eurystheus. Perform 12 labors beyond imagination, each more impossible than the last. Only by walking through realms of gods, monsters, and death itself can you find cleansing. Only through trials designed by your greatest enemy can you perhaps be freed from your guilt. And so Hercules bound himself to a life of penance. But these weren't just tests of strength. They were crucibles designed to break his spirit. Each task would push him beyond the limits of what any mortal could endure. She hoped each trial would finally erase the one person she couldn't control. But she's about to learn something about the human spirit that even gods don't understand. Sometimes when you try to break someone who's already been shattered, you don't destroy them. You forge them into something unbreakable. This is where the legend truly begins. This is where a broken man starts his journey to become the only mortal in history to earn his place among the gods. The 12 Labours of Hercules are about to begin. Hercules now stands at the crossroads of destiny. They say no warrior has ever returned from facing it alive. If you want to see how a broken hero begins his journey to become the only mortal who ever cheated death itself, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because this series only gets more epic from here. If you could become the only immortal human in history, but you had to walk Hercules' path of pain and trials to get there, would you do it? Drop your answer in the comments below. The next episode is waiting for you. Trust me, I've never seen the Nemean lion story told like this.